January 20th, reset boredom. Boredom is a test. It is the moment when the work stops feeling interesting, when the routine becomes predictable, when the actions that once felt purposeful now feel mechanical. Boredom is not failure, it is the natural result of repetition, and repetition is where discipline is built. Most people quit when boredom arrives, not because the work became harder, because it stopped feeling new, because the excitement disappeared. They mistake boredom for a signal to stop, when boredom is actually a signal that the foundation is being laid. Boredom means you have done something long enough for it to become familiar, long enough for novelty to fade, long enough for the process to reveal itself as repetitive. And this is exactly where most people abandon what they started. They chase the next thing, the next goal, the next strategy. They mistake variety for progress. They confuse excitement with effectiveness. They believe that if something feels boring, it must not be working, but boring is often working. Boring is the same action repeated until it becomes automatic. Boring is the foundation being reinforced through repetition. Boring is discipline operating without the need for emotional support. Discipline does not need excitement. It does not require novelty. It does not depend on the work feeling interesting. Discipline is the ability to continue when continuation feels dull, when the action has been done so many times that it no longer produces any emotional response. This is where discipline separates from motivation. Motivation requires stimulation. It requires the work to feel engaging. Discipline requires none of this. Discipline operates in the absence of stimulation. It continues when there is nothing exciting about continuing. Most people need the work to feel meaningful to sustain effort. They need to see progress. They need to feel inspired. But discipline does not wait for confirmation. It acts regardless of whether confirmation exists. Repetition builds strength. Not the first repetition, not the 10th, the 100th, the 1000th. The repetitions that feel meaningless because they are indistinguishable from the ones before them. These are the repetitions that create mastery. Mastery is not born from variety. It is born from doing the same thing over and over until the execution becomes flawless, until the action requires no thought, until the behavior is so ingrained that it operates automatically. But reaching that point requires tolerating boredom. It requires continuing when the work feels repetitive, when nothing about today's effort feels different from yesterday's. Most people avoid boredom by constantly changing what they do. They switch routines, they try new methods, they redesign their approach. They convince themselves that the problem is the system when the problem is their inability to tolerate repetition. Changing systems repeatedly guarantees you never master anything. You never stay with one approach long enough to see whether it works. You abandon it the moment it stops feeling exciting. But boredom is not evidence of the wrong path. Boredom is evidence that you are far enough down the path for familiarity to replace novelty. And familiarity is where real progress begins. The first time you do something, you are learning. The 10th time, you are practicing. The 100th time, you are refining. The 1000th time, you are mastering. But you only reach mastery if you tolerate the boredom of repetition. Boredom is not the enemy. Distraction is. The need for constant novelty is. The belief that work must feel engaging to be valuable is. These are what prevent you from building anything substantial. Accept that discipline is boring. Accept that growth is repetitive. Accept that the work will stop feeling exciting long before it stops being effective. And continue anyway. You do not need the work to feel interesting. You need it to be done. You do not need variety. You need consistency. You do not need excitement. You need execution. Boredom is the price of mastery. It is the cost of building something that lasts. It is the inevitable result of doing the same thing long enough to become exceptional at it. Most people are unwilling to pay this price, but it does not work that way. The path to anything worth achieving is paved with repetition, and repetition is boring. There is no way around this. There is only the choice to tolerate it or quit. Most people quit. They chase excitement. They pursue novelty. And they wonder why nothing ever builds, why nothing ever compounds, they are always starting over. Because they quit when boredom arrives. And boredom always arrives. Reset your relationship with boredom. Stop treating it as a signal to change direction. Stop interpreting it as evidence that you are on the wrong path. Boredom is not the problem. Your inability to tolerate it is. Stay disciplined when repetition feels dull. Continue when the work feels mechanical. This is where discipline proves itself. Day 20, built in silence.